Oh look, another hit piece. Hey boys, girls, Zims, and Zers, thanks for watching my channel. So, in case you guys haven't heard, we are suing. Blair, Brandon, and myself filed suit regarding our walkaway event in New York from last year and all of the defamation that occurred. So for those of you just joining us now, let me catch you up. Last March we were slated to do our very first walkaway LGBT town hall event in New York. And it was supposed to be at the LGBT Center before an entire smear campaign caused them to cancel. The panel consisted of a gay man, a transgender woman, a black gay veteran, and a gay Jew. Excuse me, I mean white supremacist, homophobic, transphobic Nazis. Oral arguments for the case began last week. Brandon and Blair were out of town, so I was there repping the team. Check out my court outfit. Super cute, right? Clean up nice. So then the next day, this hit piece came out on us in the world-famous Gay City News. Where have I heard of them before?
Additionally, we are disturbed that this group chose the date of Thursday, March 28th for their event. We do not believe that this is a coincidence. The Gay City News Impact Awards will be held in Queens that evening.
They're on to us. Don't tell me you guys have never heard of the world-famous Gay City News Impact Awards in Queens. I mean, you caught us. Oh, right. What's very interesting is that this author, this Matt Tracy, was in the courtroom with me, with our lawyers, never once asked for any sort of comment or statement from any of us, anyone affiliated with the plaintiff's side, to give our point of view, or to comment on the numerous factual inaccuracies in his article. So I wanted to respond to his article and explain our case and tell you guys why we're doing this, so let's read this trash together, shall we? Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Catherine Freed was intent as she listened to oral arguments on February 20th in a bizarre case in which LGBTQ Trump supporters are suing the LGBT Community Center and others for discrimination, defamation, and cyberbullying after an event the MAGA crowd had scheduled there was canceled. Bizarre case. So right there in the first paragraph is the manipulative language, a bizarre case. You know, it really isn't so bizarre for us, for the people who have to live with this, who are human beings that they vilify and dehumanize and put this scarlet letter on. People who lose their friends, lose their jobs, lose their livelihoods, their families. The way that the LGBT establishment vilifies and dehumanizes any LGBT person who doesn't conform and has the audacity to think for themselves, that really is a part of what this case is about, that we were singled out for being the wrong kind of LGBT. And they claim that it's ridiculous that we would argue that, but they freely admit that they target us for being the wrong kind of LGBT. The MAGA crowd. The MAGA crowd. Who exactly is the MAGA crowd? Because I didn't vote for Trump, I didn't even support him at the time, and this wasn't any sort of MAGA or Trump event. This was a group of LGBT center-right speakers, where it was a town hall where everybody of all belief systems were welcome, not only allowed to attend, but welcome to attend. We had all sorts of people there, liberal, conservative, centrist, libertarian, all of the above. And when we actually had the event, all of us separately went outside to the protesters to try and ask them to come inside and make their voices heard. We were very intent that it's a town hall, we want to hear from people who disagree with us. Of course, they refused.
I just want to make sure that everybody feels welcome. You're welcome to come inside. We would love to hear from all of you. It's a town hall, it's an open discussion. If you have any thoughts or opinions about anything we're saying or doing inside, please come in, use your voice. We'd love to hear from you. We're a movement of love and peace and open-mindedness, and we would absolutely love to hear from everybody, even people who don't agree. Yeah, we love you guys. Come on in. We'd love to hear from you. Do you want to come in?
No.
Are you going to come in? Come in.
No. Absolutely not. We have no interest in engaging.
Why not just be open-minded enough to come inside and have a conversation? What will hurt you about hearing words?
Why not be open-minded enough to
What if it turns out you're wrong? What if it turns out you're wrong and we have more in common than we have different?
Have your event.
Say it loud, say it
You're fucking dancing monkeys.
What?
You can be their fucking dancing monkeys.
Y'all are out here in unison dancing monkeys. What are you talking about? Does anyone want to have a real conversation? Because I'd be like, cool.
Thank you, but no.
Why don't you guys come inside? We can talk.
I tried to talk to them earlier. They
Yeah, I
weren't
don't
interested in
want to
having a
listen to what
conversation.
you have to say, because I'm sure it's going to be trash.
They will never listen to what we are actually saying, because if they came inside and found out that we're not actually racist, homophobic, transphobic monsters, then that would mean that there are other valid points of view in this world other than theirs. And groups like this do a very good job at making you think that anyone who isn't a Democrat or isn't a radical leftist is just some horrible person. They're very effective in doing that, and that's partially why we're standing up to them. What's funny is that more recently at our San Francisco event that we had, the people who were out there protesting us, they were chanting things that we don't even disagree with. Like, they're there chanting, "No Nazis!" Yeah, no Nazis! No KKK! Yeah, no KKK! Black Lives Matter! They do indeed. Like, who are you arguing with? The voices in your head? I mean, that's the thing. These people have created fictional characters that share our names and our faces, but really not much else. There are major questions about the suit's viability and the plaintiff's ability to prove any of their allegations. There are major questions because you're only presenting their side of the story. You're not even telling people what our points of contention are. Of course we can prove our allegations. We'll get to that in a minute. However, let's read on. Brandon Straka, who in 2018 launched the Walk Away movement to try to convince folks to ditch the Democratic Party in favor of the Trumped GOP, rented space at the center for a town hall event in March of last year, where he planned to speak alongside Blair White, Mike Harlow, and Rob Smith. After the plan sparked controversy about some of the would-be speakers' well-documented history of bigoted rhetoric, the event was eventually scrapped. Here is the definition of bigoted. Having or revealing an obstinate belief in the superiority of one's own opinions and a prejudiced intolerance of the opinions of others. Who does that remind you of? Funny, it doesn't sound much like us. It is unbelievable that they don't see the hypocrisy. I mean, we are the ones who are advocating for civil dialogue and diversity of viewpoint. The dictionary definition of bigotry is intolerance of different opinions. By its very definition, you are the bigots. White, who is transgender, once made a white power sign. No, she most certainly did not. What they're referring to is Blair doing the OK hand gesture. Here is an article from the Anti-Defamation League saying that the notion of the OK hand sign being a white supremacist white power symbol is, in their own words, a hoax. In 2017, the OK hand gesture acquired a new and different significance thanks to a hoax by members of the website 4chan to falsely promote the gesture as a hate symbol. The OK gesture hoax was merely the latest in a series of similar 4chan hoaxes using various innocuous symbols. In each case, the hoaxers hoped that the media and liberals would overreact by condemning a common image as white supremacist. And that's exactly what they did. So, people like this Matt Tracy, the author of this piece, one of two things. Either they are incompetent and unable to do a simple Google search to find out this information, or they are deliberately dishonest and they know that they are lying to you. I'll let you guys decide which one it is. There are a litany of photos of Democrats and of people on the left doing the same OK hand gesture. So why is it that they're only mind readers when you're not a leftist? Why is it that they presume to know what's in Blair's head for doing the OK sign? Oh shit, I guess I did it now too. Hate speech. Yet that sort of mind reading only ever goes in one direction. It's only when you're not a radical leftist that then they suddenly become fucking Miss Cleo. Bitches. The double standards imposed against people who aren't Democrats and aren't leftists is just clear as can be. In their open letter about us, they found a picture of Blair wearing a charcoal face mask and said that that was her doing blackface. Yet, meanwhile, you have people like Sarah Silverman and Jimmy Kimmel who have actually done blackface and are welcomed with open arms at the LGBT Center. You can't make this up. Straka has tweeted that non-binary and genderqueer identities are make-believe positions. He further dismissed non-binary people in a separate tweet, saying, "I'm pretty sure transgender people will be the first to say that there are two genders." Yes, they would. And if you think that we are incorrect in our belief of there being two genders, then have a better argument and prove us wrong. And last I checked, it's called the LGBT Center, not the non-binary commune. So again, why is it that LGBT people are not allowed to have our own opinions on things that are being pushed by our own community? And also, we've always been extremely clear that we do not ever want non-binary people to be mistreated or bullied in any way. We simply have a difference of opinion when it comes to our choice of language, when it comes to what we call a gender and what we don't. So why is that not a perfectly reasonable and valid conversation, and in my opinion, one that needs to be had? So naturally then comes the guilt by association. Strzok has also shared photos of himself alongside alt-right, false, former Breitbart journalist Milo Yiannopoulos, who was seen on video singing at a Dallas karaoke bar in 2016 while white supremacists including Richard Spencer stood nearby making Nazi salutes according to BuzzFeed, blah blah blah. The fuck does this have anything to do with us? Brandon has been in the same room as Milo, and Milo has been in the same room as these people. I mean, this is like 6 degrees of literally Hitler. But this is the guilt by association. This is another point that they constantly hit us on, that me and Brandon were on an episode of Gavin McInnes's show. What's interesting is that on a future episode of Gavin McInnes's show, Dr. Cornel West, who has been given awards for civil rights, was on Gavin McInnes's show to have a conversation with Milo Yiannopoulos. And it was actually a very respectful and civil conversation that I really recommend you guys watching because it was awesome. So is Dr. Cornel West a Nazi and a white supremacist because he spoke to Gavin and Milo? No, of course not. Once again, only guilt by association if you're not a leftist. And speaking of guilt by association, if the author of this piece was paying attention in court, our lawyers pointed out that the LGBT Center has allowed multiple groups to speak there with various ties to violent leftist extremist groups. But of course, no guilt by association for that. They're leftists. Doesn't matter. This is incredibly egregious that you'd host an event where panelists have used queer slurs and stood behind policies that put the community at great risk. Where? Evidence, please. Show me instances of who we're using slurs against. The only people we've ever maybe slurred are ourselves, and you are absolutely not going to tell me how I can speak about myself. And I mean, aren't you people the ones using slurs by calling everyone queer, a word which literally means mentally unbalanced and abnormal? Like, that's what you think LGBT people are? But that's not hateful. We're hateful, but that's not hateful. Please. At the February 20th hearing, blah 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 argued that their clients were merely expressing their opinion, and they noted the plaintiffs are public figures who have appeared on cable TV networks. Public figures bear a higher burden of proof against those they accuse under libel and defamation law. I'm a public figure? Aw, thank you. My god, I thought I was just like some lunatic ranting and shouting into a camera, but I'm so happy to be recognized. You think I'm a public... Aw, I didn't think that. Mom, I'm a public figure. Green described the nature of the filing by the plaintiff's attorneys as shocking. No, what's shocking is the way that your clients and publications like this mislead the public. I'm not going to give any legal opinions because I'm not qualified to do so. However, they were absolutely not just giving their opinions for multiple reasons. They declared us to be a danger to the community, implying that we are not only hateful and extremist, but violent, when our entire histories, careers, lives, and bodies of work show us to be anything but. In their open letter about us, they said that we hold openly white supremacist views. Openly. That's not an opinion. They have time and time and time again made declarative statements about us which were by every metric false. They can't have it both ways, where they make these outrageous false declaratory statements saying this is who these people are, this is what they believe, and this is what they will do, when it has been proven that this is not who we are, this is not what we believe, and this is not what we do. And then they hide behind saying, oh, it's just an opinion and it's free speech. Hey, suddenly they like free speech. But as we know, the only free speech anybody wants today is their own. The center's legal team, blah blah blah, sought to poke holes in the accusations by arguing that there was no discrimination on the basis of anyone being gay, and that in any event, the allegations against the center must include evidence of intent. So this is something that was repeated in court by one of the lawyers, Remy Green, who said that you need to show their intent. You need to show that they knew they were lying. Duh. So let's get into their intent. In December of 2018, I made a video on this channel titled Race, Columbia, and the Cure to Outrage. It was about a big news story at the time where a student at Columbia went on what was basically like a white pride rant. So I made this video against that ideology, speaking against any sort of white pride stuff because I'm very opposed to that.
Whenever I hear somebody going on about white people built the world, that's about when I tune out. And not to be rude, but whenever I hear these people saying about, like, white people built the world, I'm like, bitch, you barely built the IKEA cabinet in your apartment. Sit down.
This was a video that was explicitly against racism. The entire video was talking about how we can overcome the racial divide in our country. Hell, if you watch this video, it probably sounds like it was made by a liberal. In their open letter, the defendants decided to take screenshots from this video and chop them up and not only take them out of context, but piece them together isolated to show the exact opposite of the point I was making. They took parts where I was basically quoting this kid and passed them off as if those are my beliefs. Now let's talk about intent. The defendants who made this open letter and this dossier, they watched this video. So they watched this.
And this is why I don't believe in judging people based on group identity or skin color.
And this.
Some people say that we should aim for a colorblind society, but I think what a lot of people on the colorblind side miss sometimes is that if we hope to achieve that, it has to involve confronting disparities and double standards and injustices that exist for people of color.
And this.
The ideology of the alt-right and the regressive left is essentially the same. They both believe in us all being judged for everything but the content of our character.
And this.
The only way that we will ever overcome our country's racial divide is together, is through mutual understanding.
And they still decided that I am not only a white supremacist, but openly a white supremacist. Does that sound like an open white supremacist to you? So, if their only goal was honesty and to let people know who we are and what we believe, why trot out this video? And there was another instance of them doing this with one of my videos. They wanted to paint me as transphobic, as someone who hates transgender people. What they showed was this.
I vehemently disagree with modern gender ideology.
But the full sentence, however, was this.
I vehemently disagree with modern gender ideology, but regardless, I 100% support transgender people having all of the rights and respect and dignity in the world.
So again, if their intention was to be honest and inform, why not show the full sentence in its context? That doesn't show their intent? So these people could have easily done a simple Google search and looked up the litany of statements that we have made saying what we really believe. Our beliefs of egalitarianism and supporting minorities and supporting all people. And since they won't show you, I will. Here are some examples.
Well, I will tell you exactly who we are. We are African Americans. We are Hispanic Americans. We are Asian Americans. We are Caucasian Americans. We are straight, gay, lesbian, and transgender Americans.
And so yes, the Republican Party admittedly is not super great about trans people. Like, I am never going to be the person to say that the Republican Party is some great ally of trans people. I will say, however, that I am determined to change that from the inside. That has been a major goal of my channel since the very beginning.
Something I really cannot stand to see is the animosity that the trans lobby and trans activists are creating towards transgender people. The divide isn't gay versus trans. It's liberty versus authority. Individuality versus suffocating conformity. So I'm really not interested in anything that'll pit gay people against trans people. I think if we're going to change this culture, the only way that that's going to happen is doing it together.
It's time for all of us to cast away ancient prejudices and preconceived notions about race, about sexual orientation, and all the other isms that have kept us separated and at odds for so long.
I am emailing you from Malaysia, but I used to live in Iraq until my family escaped. I am 18 and trans, male to female, and it is not easy. Being gay is illegal here, and so is being trans. I've watched your videos for the last year, and you are the only thing that inspires me and gives comfort.
I feel like it's not enough to criticize Democrats on the left. We have to hold Republicans accountable too. And it speaks to a bigger issue. For example, over 90% of the black community votes Democrat. Why? 90% of people cannot all be wrong. Now, you could say that there are factors of the media and stuff like that. However, that's also because Republicans have been really shitty to the black community for decades and have done nothing to change the perception that conservative or Republican means racist. They've done nothing to change that. They were horrible to the gay community for a while. So I think it is the people in this room and people like us who are changing that. And I just hope to see more of that change.
Walk Away was never about hatred of Democrats, but about leaving in civility. It is about unity, compassion, empathy, understanding. It has always been about love.
You guys are here. What are we saying that's so terrible, that's such hate speech?
If you have to lie to make someone seem 10 times worse, you're the one that's wrong.
But they're not interested in showing you what we really believe. It's much easier to just go with guilt by association, out of context clips, and outright lies. Anyway, the center's attorneys then cited Strzok's tweets dismissing non-binary identities to justify canceling the event, calling the rhetoric unacceptable to the institution's mission. Yes, well, there's only one problem with that. You see, after the controversy started, the LGBT Center initially released a statement supporting us and defending free speech. So they didn't think that these statements about the non-binaries were so horrible when they met with Brandon, when they booked the event, when they researched us, or when they released this statement. It was only after relentless pressure, lies, and this smear campaign that invoked words like open white supremacists that they caved in and threw us under the bus. And the thing is, this defamatory dossier that they put together, this has followed us. Every event we do, they use this dossier and this open letter as an excuse to cancel our events. 4 out of our 5 events have been canceled right before. And you know, we're tough and we're fighters, so we find another venue and we scramble last minute and we usually get the show to go on. But this has followed us everywhere we go, and it is based on a foundation of lies. These people lied about us to such an extent that we get people who actually believe we are murderers going around killing homeless people. Our most recent event in San Francisco turned into nearly a brawl because of the lies that they tell about us. They tell these lies, they tell people this is who we are, and people believe that. You know, I'm half Jewish on my dad's side. My relatives were put into ovens. And on my mom's side, my grandfather was a World War II veteran who actually fought Nazis. And so now I have people screaming in my face that I'm a Nazi without a shred of evidence to back it up, but they believe it because they read it, and because venues cancel us. I mean, at our events like San Francisco, there was Antifa, there was the Black Bloc, there were people waving red communist flags. These are truly crazy people, these people who are screaming. You guys have seen this. These people, I will never, as long as I live, forget seeing the hate, the sheer hatred, burning hatred in their eyes. I've never seen anything like it. And that hatred is being sanctioned by entities like the LGBT Center, like Out Magazine, like the LGBT establishment, by saying, you are correct to hate these people. These are horrible, monstrous people. Hate away. The way that the LGBT establishment vilifies and really dehumanizes any LGBT person with a mind of their own. You know, I really don't like to use this word, and I don't say it lightly, but at a certain point, it is inciting violence. It is. I mean, what do you think happens when you label people Nazis and racists and open white supremacists when they're nothing of the sort, and you say that they're Nazis, and then you tell people to go out and punch Nazis? I mean, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, somebody's going to get killed one of these days because of this stuff. I mean, God forbid, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Somebody is going to get killed one of these days because of the way that more than half the country is vilified. And at what point do these alphabet people take a shred of responsibility for their total disregard for the truth? Last month, a 21-year-old gay kid named Wilson Gavin committed suicide after the mob bullying that he received from his own LGBT community. His crime was saying drag queens are not for kids. These LGBT blue checkmark types just bullied him and bullied him and bullied him, and they are so cruel and just so vicious, and eventually he jumped in front of a train. I mean, at what point do they take responsibility for their actions? Anyway, sorry to ramble forever, so long story long. I reached out to the author of this article, and I invited him to come on my channel for a live stream, and let's have a discussion. Well, imagine my shock. He wouldn't do it. Because whether it's the writer of a hit piece or screaming protesters outside our events, time and time again, these people have shown that they are totally incapable of defending their own words, actions, beliefs, ideas. The thing is, the mainstream LGBT community has become a place exclusively for the most radical of radical leftism, which, as we see in this election and also around the world, is being resoundingly rejected, even within the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders' support has dropped significantly since 2016. The most identitarian and race-obsessed candidates are the ones who are losing the black vote. Black voters are overwhelmingly voting for the least woke candidates. So the vast majority of people in this country are not radical leftists. I mean, some studies have shown that only 8% of the country are hard leftists. Yet for some reason, it is demanded that 100% of LGBT people must be, or else. Anyway, just last thing I want to say, we filed this lawsuit to stand up to bullies, because that's what these people are. They are bigots and they are bullies. They try to intimidate and control and instill fear in people to not have minds of their own. And, you know, hopefully by filing this lawsuit and by people seeing us sticking up for ourselves, hopefully they can stand up for themselves to the bullies in their lives. Because regardless of whether somebody is trying to bully you because you don't look like them, you don't love like them, or you don't think like them, it is always wrong. One lawsuit from one group of people is not enough, but if every person were to stand up and fight back when they try to bully you, maybe they would have to be a little bit more honest in their words and a little more ethical in their actions. Anyway, that's about all. Thank you guys so much for watching my channel. It really means so much to me. I'm back on track. I'm going to get my YouTube channel to be much more regular, and I'm going to post so much more, so please stay tuned. I am back on Twitter. I got my ban undone, so I'm going to be making a video about this week, give you all the info. So follow me on Twitter now, at Mikey the Harlow. I have all my links below. If you guys like what I do, please subscribe to my Patreon. I would really appreciate it. Love you guys.
Mikey Harlow.
He's my friend.